Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm really excited to announce the release of CIS 2.8. So this release has been in planning for, quite some time because there are some decent features in here that has actually, to be honest with you, taken quite a significant amount of work and research and prototyping to deliver the CIS 2.8 release. And this is actually in conjunction with another piece that is going to be coming, which is not necessarily in this release, but it was developed alongside. So think of it as a parallel track. And that's going to be having or supporting multiple virtual routes, right, within CIS. So CIS having the capabilities to support multiple routes with one CIS controller. And so that work is coming as a preview, and I'll have an update on when that will be available. But the goal is to merge everything together at 2.9 and kind of release that out. But there will be a preview. I'll post another video when the preview comes out with some documentation so that if you are using OpenShift routes and you want to have multiple virtual or public IPs for different routes, that's kind of your goal. So that is a parallel effort with regards to the 2.8 release. But I'm really excited to announce some of the big features that are in the 2.8 release. So as you know, we've been working on CRDs. And the goal is to port as much of the advanced objects, the advanced configurations that you potentially might want to use into your CRDs. So for example, in this release, 2.8, we support a persistence profile or the option of creating or setting up what level of persistence you want. So by default, we use the AS3 based persistence option. So for transport server, it's source address. For virtual server, it's cookie. But if you wanted to turn off persistence, you can enable a persistence of none either in the virtual server or the transport server, or you can go and enable it in the policy CRD and associate the policy CRD to a transport or a virtual server CRD. So that's kind of cool. It's one aspect of advancing these CRDs with these big IP objects. There are some cool stuff also coming in CIS 2.9 to expand obviously the features around, CRDs, specifically virtual server and transport server. That's very similar to this. The second item here is to add the host object to a transport server or to add it to the ingress link CRD. So I created a video last week about ingress link using external DNS. And for us to use external DNS, we had to specify the host name. And so that's why we added and supported hosts in a transport server or an ingress link CRD. So for example, you can specify let's say an ingress link CRD for a host of mysite.f5demo or myapp.f5demo.com. And then you can associate that to a external DNS CRD to configure your GTM. And so I'm really excited to see that feature come in the CIS 2.8 release. The next one is a big one that we've been planning, working on, being in communication with our partner at Vmware to deliver big IP support for VMware Tanzu. And I did post a separate video on that, and that's going to be part of the CIS 2.8 playlist. So if you look for that playlist, it's on my channel, you will find that playlist, and you can actually see a demo of big IP using CIS with VMware Tanzu, specifically the Entrea CNI. And what we're doing here is that we are using a new deployment model called Node Port Local. And so I highly recommend looking at that. It's actually really cool. And there are some advances within Node Port Local and what we did with ingress as well as using node port local with a virtual server CRD as well. And so that covers these two items. There are some enhancements in the Helm charts to support the current CRD schema. So that's really important. When you upgrade to CIS 2.8, please upgrade your schema as well. Another good thing to check is that when you're upgrading to CIS 2.8, check the cluster role bindings. So there's also an RBAC file that you will find on GitHub. Just check to make sure there hasn't been any changes. I don't believe there has been. Most of those changes were 2.7 below, but just check. But definitely the schema has been updated. So you want to apply that new schema before you scale that CIS instance from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 before you do the upgrade. And of course, with this release, the 2.8, this is a minor release. We've gone ahead and fixed some bugs as well. Some of these bugs were related to deleting virtual servers using host group. We were seeing some issues there. Also, potentially there is some items here for TS and VS. These are most likely GitHub issues or any type of SRs that came in. So as you're probably aware, with every release, we try to focus on bug fixing as well. There's also a nice fix here of some ARP on restart and recreate. That's also being resolved as well. So overall, pretty good release. What is happening next is we're going to do a maintenance release, 2.8.1. That work has started. That sprint has kicked off, and you're basically looking at a month time for that release. So as you can see, if you want to wait for 2.8.1, by all means, it's a maintenance release, no new features, some bug fixes that didn't get into 2.8, and those bug fixes will come in the 2.8.1 release. Thank you so much for the time. If you enjoyed this video, please send a like, subscribe to this channel. We're going to be updating you with some of the new features that's coming. If you have any requests for videos, please let me know. Any comments, greatly appreciated. Have a lovely day.